And we are live. Okay. So, for my mom, good afternoon. And then the still support system I my Ghana students are or more pay opportunities because say the last year statistics in Chile, records from most of your tertiary institutions is showing that we have an excess of almost 200,000 students who are going to graduate from your tertiary institutions, including traditional ones, no, yet state institutions, no. University of Ghana, KNUST, Cape Coast University, and other ones. Your economy, unfortunately, and soon enough, a bit me fast students in Baha will give opportunities for people who want scholarships, admissions, or other countries, US, Canada, Australia, other places in Europe. We've done UK, yeah, Finland, Sweden. I know Sweden for betray, we say, or MOMA scholarship, full scholarship, even for PhD students, it comes with a stipend, like a salary. So for throughout the period you're doing your PhD, you still have support system. So and then we have another organization who is dedicated to doing this for dedicated to African students, and then we're going to focus on Ghanaian students. So we are Ghanaian students who has an opportunity. Because when you admission that to a university outside, 8B schools. So 8B, the organization is 8B. 8B is going to show you how I will be your loan, how I will financial aid, how I admission, I do help you, how I will be your admission. So let me talk to them so that they can help us or understand the issue. So I have Dr. Lydia and Letitia Sapon here. Dr. Lydia, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm so excited to be here.
Good. And you are joining us from where? Where are you joining us?
Joining you from New York.
From New York. Okay, thank you so much. And Letitia is joining us from Accra, right?
Yeah.
Good. So, Dr. Letitia, tell us about the services that you're offering to. We're focusing on Ghanaian students today. I know that your services are available to African students, right? Or every student everywhere.
Yeah. So I am really excited to be here. Thank you again for making the time to speak with us at 8B today. The way we think about our services, Afia, is that we are building the bridges that enable the world to be fit for purpose in this population milestone of 8 billion that the world has entered in which African young people are going to be the driver of innovation. So the reason why our name is 8B, short for 8 billion, is because we see ourselves as building those bridges that enable Africa to be an equal player, an intellectual equal in this world of 8 billion that we're entering in. And the services that we provide are really threefold. The main thing that we do that very few other people do, in fact, nobody does for African students, is providing affordable financing in the form of loans for African students who have shaken the tree for every scholarship dollar. Everything that could fall has fallen off. The money is still not enough to enable a student to enroll, and they cannot really walk into EcoBank or UBA and say, give me a loan to go to NYU or to Oxford. That option doesn't exist. Student financing is often not a product that can be given to families on the African continent. And that's where we come in. We are an entity that focuses exclusively on financing African students when they are going to global universities. The first place that we are placing our emphasis is in the US. So we currently have very many Ghanaian students in our pipeline who have offers to universities, both undergraduate and graduate programs in the US. And we will, in the near future, be working in other geographies. We also have something we call a marketplace, Afia. And the marketplace is where students can come and find out about financing options that are not 8B's own loans. So, for example, if a student is going to a business school in Paris, we have a partner that offers loan financing for a business school in Paris. A student doesn't have to go to Google and randomly search and hope for the best. We already have curated and synthesized the entire universe of financing for which African students are eligible on our website. So we are then the one-stop shop, if you will, for African students who are looking for financing. And I must not fall short of talking about scholarship financing. We do have limited financing for scholarships at 8B. Our main product is the loan products, as I have said, because that's really where there is a lot of demand and just not enough supplies. Scholarships, by definition, Afia, are just really very few. So that's, everybody is limited in how many they can offer. What we are really excited about is that we can now offer this additional loan financing. So on our scholarship, you can find HB scholarships, but you can also find curated the entire universe of scholarships for which African students are eligible. So similar to the way you can find a loan from a partner who is not us in a country and a university we don't yet work with, you can find information about scholarships that is not from us, but from partners and entities that can support the ambition of smart young Africans. So that is the biggest product that we're offering, removing the financing headache from families and students that are ambitious, but the household income is not big enough. The two additional things that we do, Afia, that are really important to note, even if I won't spend too much time on them, is that upstream, meaning when a student is leaving high school or university but doesn't yet have an offer, we have a boot camp and a lot of information that is tailored at helping those students know where to apply, how to apply, what is a good personal statement, what is a good recommendation letter. All of those things that are not easy to know unless you've been in an international high school with a high school counselor holding your hand, or in a very good international university where somebody is helping you figure out how to do this. For many of our young people and many of our families, that opportunity isn't there. We provide that for free for anybody who has questions. We can help them
for free. Because we like good free things in Ghana, so for free.
No, that is for free. You go to 8b.africa, and that is, you can look around. You will see information about a boot camp. Some of the information there is asynchronous, meaning at your own time you can go in and take the advice that other students were able to take live. And then starting July, there will be every Saturday live webinars helping students with application processes. That
for the slow down for me when you're speaking, because you guys in New York speak, we in Ghana we speak slowly. We need to understand exactly what you're saying. The accent kind of, it's so slow down for us when you're speaking. So into my member the Okano Tofa, Letitia member host here. What she's saying, they say, Omoma loans, Oma Juma Omo ye pan say. Ghana for any African students, no, the omo ye kese panes on loans. It is when your school, when your admission was school be or Canada and US, unisika any say, ye intini say a third world country, now what ye nibi. Ebi a mami akoto to ni bottom na boss woman de wenye nyina, upapa de onyina, baby ni wa, omo bem 8B for no more, or say omo dino, because we are seeing any pan do 8 billion. Into omo adwene omo fa ne say. 8 billion number connect to to each other. And one of the key things and it's almost addition and I say almost education be yes sir. Do ye obi wo Kenya or Ghana or say we say almost the end so betimi aboa wo na be abosia na wo hia no onsa kan abosia na school na wo call Canada or call US or wetimi akọ na so aba be bibi pa ama so de abo no Kenya no wasua de na New York yo ya ono so onye selfish nti onye person kuminya nti won se wonu so nya adwene no se mame so mfa mmoa me nua no ma bi before se de ba obi so betumi nya school kwanti sika mmeye akonsidi ma wo once a wanya admission nko ade sika nya problem ba omo ho a omo one on be ya omo betumi de abo no wanya bosia na wo de betua wo school fees bi and on sense studio bi se abroche ho no ya na scholarship no ho odin enye obi ya na ebenya bi iswa nti ya na mu odin is the wa ben pa wa throw personal statements and I know ya de Dr. Asante Baham or Betche personal statement said the trono was here broaching no school for no more high school. Yeah, no more counselors or more one colano. Into no drew or not try anything. I got answer the him. Who call SHS or counselor be or your personal statement. Me may be. Me call SHS man who be JHS go me who be. Into no more honor more boy call so call more website or more you more boot camp or more boot camp for free. Into be open him the no obet me a call. na wakwa konya ho ni school ben na opese o apply die nti na opese school no course ben na omo ye die nti na sa course o pay course a wo ye bia obetimi nya aid kakra obetimi nya scholarship kakra bia na so do loan no e de asoso nti Letitia ma memra ho nom I've just summarized what you said in Akan so that people can also understand what you said.
I am sorry, I do not speak Akan. I wish
that's okay. That's okay. English is also an official language in Ghana, so it's perfect. You're good. Letitia, memra ho. Can loans. But I said doc can about boot camp amoye to help obi obenya admission ya. The nti say admission about say nipa no onimo hwe afa no we SHS. Ana abia afa no we Legon or peso ono so onya akwan no kosua de wa abroche say de nkroma mu kosua de no. Admission na woka say boot camp mbetimi aboa nipa na mo ho we school we na nko so hwe mo ye ne sen e ho cheche mo maye.
Okay. Into bootcamp no a learning platform enim before omo US esua de nso US ebi mo nso African countries had to say Ghana, but mostly US people omo esua de wo ho no omo chwe a school for school ni biara opese o share process na se but yeah no online.
Okay.
Inti because microphone in Ghana has say inti no you share together physically.
Okay.
Inti it's mostly done online via Zoom. Inti you share or Zoom, then they will start teaching you umbesha say actual from infitia say they will see kind na how course we course ebe university school pesa oko ye be ma top 5 schools, top 10 schools, top 20 schools pesa wonko. Then adeba kwesa boot camp name say ye cheche voucher.
Okay.
Because most of the US schools no was a exam bia so what's in your friend SAT
SAT
and your exams via your friend or TOEFL and also so your vouchers through the boot camp na students never join them. Yetimi Emma students no access to the voucher so that they umbetimi take his exams no and yes yeah the omusha here from time how umbe apply to the school.
Okay.
There was some and young man was so money essays there was so much said your kind nan and because say online meeting no yeah well access be say just in case she boot camp na no be ready say or person or apply or all share any no the lectures or honoma obitimi share any personal statement and na send the essay no ama omo then omo be review it then they will get back to the person say okay wait fawisha her you wait free her fawisha her you wait free her until mostly it's done online not in person.
Okay. And but say boot camp no afi admissions most of the admissions for US schools Canada schools no etwema na bi down wo for this year.
Okay, so your first batch no yeah in the last year.
Okay.
So this is for 2023. The first boot camp for 2023. So the first one now we did no it was Munko School 2023 and we did it last year 2022. So our first people have successfully gone through the boot camp. Say no, yeah, they on mona eba besha here for the next one.
Okay. Nti mami musa about so say so far no arrangement ben na maye for young fans say obi a afi kra na wote monka 8B afi na wote monka dia na sese wo ye me san kodok one about loans but dia na wo ye for instance afi na wo admission dia na wo ye.
Okay, so the first thing I was saying and say obe log on to your website and your platform no. So ubetimi ya dom na wa share website no www.8bafrica into website no so yeah. So oju honuma website now the website will ask the person some few questions of needing baby a country or also school baby a wakweju like the level of education, whether undergraduate, postgraduate, I think where we SHS, high school leaver, or so it be someone, then the next question now, it be someone said at the end of, like, on logging onto the platform, no, what are their expectations? Do they want admission? Do they want financing? So all questions when you now will come to play to get to know how best you beat me up was our students. No? So the first thing the students will have to do is to log on to the website and sign up. That's the sign up access now with share.
Okay. Until Letitia, mama now as a pastor, my pinning website no or Facebook. Until you can look at the link and then follow the link. The link no do called the website of hbafrica.com. And then they have a list there of the omo loans, some of them schools are obenyani identity number 2 options na dem as here. So when school omo boot camp on betimi aboa no wetimi school kra e was unya courses kra was we any a relationship between maybe course our years University of Ghana or Safin we SHS requirements ne personal statement ne the number 2 or more another one. So when your school need that there be no way in admission but we any but tell me I go to me uni he and also so ombema access our betimi arrangement obenya bosia o share no so 2 ubenya bosia wo de be call school no said the bass aka no emeye woka. So doc, I'm coming back to you about the loans. You know, like I was saying initially, a lot of the African countries, we are third world countries, so economic issues are very prevalent in the children. Even if you live in a family where maybe the children are 5, all of them are school going age. One of them has just gotten admission into one university somewhere, another one 2 universities in Ghana. The parents have to kind of split their resources between all these kids. So the loans are very important. What are the criteria? Do you have category of loans that you offer? Explain that to us.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for the question. While I don't speak Akan, I wanted to add to something that I heard you say.
Okay, but you understood the question, right?
Well, yeah, and I think the piece that I wanted to correct is the website.
So we need to bring you to Ghana. If you understood the question, then that means you're halfway there. Okay.
So yeah, the website is actually 8b.africa. We don't have .com.
Oh, okay. 8b.africa. Okay.
Africa. So to the question of, what is the criteria? So unfortunately, not all universities are created equal. So that means we don't lend to students going to just about every university. We are very selective. We can only lend to students going to a list of about 430, maybe 440. When the university list is growing, meaning if a student gets an offer from a university we haven't yet worked with, we will then take that university, put it in our formula and see, does it have a high graduation rate? Does it have a good job placement rate? Is it a kind of university we think a student will get value from? If yes, it's on our list. We add it.
But currently, how many universities do you deal with?
About 430. That's quite a few.
Wow, that's a long list.
It
430 universities.
But America has 4,000 universities. So we're only about 10% of the universities.
No, but even for those of us in Ghana, 400 is a big deal for us. So we're okay.
Yeah, you're okay. No, that's the truth. The truth is there's no need to go outside this list when you know that this is the list, which if you're really lucky, like I was when I studied in the US, I got a full scholarship, but the universities that are likely to give you a full scholarship are on this list. Right? They're not outside this list. If a university can give you a scholarship, we already have it. And if they can't give you a scholarship and they give you an offer that isn't fully funded and they're on this list, we would be in a position to finance you. That is one criteria. The universities are not created equal. Our list is the only list we can lend to.
So you got a full scholarship or partial scholarship to school?
I have been a really lucky winner of scholarships, Afia. I got a full scholarship to go to Cornell University in the US. And then later I got a full scholarship for master's at Oxford in the UK. But after finishing the master's and I was starting a doctoral program at Oxford, that was not fully funded. I ended up changing colleges and changing meaning. With Oxford has 39 colleges. So within Oxford, I had to move around and see who has a bit more money for me, but it ended up not being fully funded. And I had to work and do all sorts of things to finish that doctoral program at Oxford. And that's
But I think that story is very important. And the important part of that story is because of these difficulties that I see that your passion to help other people so that they don't struggle around.
Correct.
Because you are going in blind and you don't know what happens in another person's country. So it's important that you follow the clues we're giving you. So let me translate that so that people understand. Follow the can doc say undergrad no fully funded scholarship America Cornell the friend America Ivy League school school kitwa America for legon but at legon pa onya fully funded scholarship ne masters nso onya full scholarship echo Oxford nemom ni PhD no ena na ohun so na ne wobre sa no kra o twa no ho san Oxford wa England because obi send a question about UK scholarship. I think Lord Fred Ahuno when I was sending a question, but do they have loans for UK students? I have gained admission to a UK school, but I have a financing issue. So Lord Ford, I will come back to your question so that Doc will answer your question for you. So say ni PhD no chucha no sa wo Oxford and sana finally onya and partial funding kakra no de ni PhD no. Enti no what commitment or pepa no. E dan ko maso so bebo ni nuanom Africa for bi before said about also go school ombre na nso benya bi na at least because unya nimde na wo de bebo a unuanom ye nya te Nigeria ni abrante na okotena UK na o say me e ma obi ama ho na omo de student hwan ne be ye ne nya sa ye de bebo a ye nuanom obi nya ba bi kodu se de osaje fukonya ye na obebo abaji independence a Ghana economy yi mu ana beba wa ma Ghana kra na obetena brocho o diska be fia ebo economy no so Africa na winning in the long So, Doc, let me come back to you. I was trying to explain what you just said about the reason why you have this passion and all that. So, I linked it with a question that Lord Fred Ahuno sent. He wanted to find out if you offer loans services for universities in the UK too.
Yeah, so to finish the previous point, the passion is exactly from that, Afia, which is I knew that students from other countries could get a loan to be in Oxford. The students that I knew from the African continent that were in my master's program that had offers to continue to a doctoral program, very many of them dropped out because they couldn't figure out the financing. I had to go from one college to another in Oxford and figure out the financing. It was very difficult, but that planted the issue as needing to be solved. How do we make sure that the next time African students have an opportunity like this, they can actually be able to follow it through by getting the financing? And that's why we have created the company that we have. In the UK, our marketplace has some partners that lend to schools there, particularly business schools.
Okay.
Particularly business schools. So business schools and finance programs are in the UK. And in the US is where we have our most, our biggest access in terms of schools that we can finance. In the UK, we do so through the marketplace and through the partners. And that is also true for other European universities, other European countries rather. So through the marketplace, you can find financing for some schools in France, some schools in Spain, and so on. But the biggest number of schools for which we have financing is in the US. I encourage students who have offers to the UK to also look broadly. If you already have an offer in the UK, it means if you applied and you knew where to apply, you could probably get as good a program in a place like Canada, a place like the US. It does not hurt to look at several geographies at once, Afia. So that would be the advice I would give your students, and they can come to the 8B platform and get help on how to do that.
Okay, so let me ask you about how many universities do you work with in Canada?
In Canada, I would say maybe 24. Probably there will be about 20 to 30, and those are also through our marketplace. In the coming academic year, the 8B product will be in Canada, but in the current year, we're working through a marketplace for Canada as well, meaning you can come onto our platform, we will pre-qualify you, and we will tell you here is the person who can lend to you, the lender, the company that can lend to you. So you don't have to Google to look for it. You can come to hb.africa and that information will be there when you look at, find a loan.
Okay, so in America you have about 400 universities that you work with. In Canada you have about 22, almost 30 schools you work with. That's impressive. That's impressive. Letitia, mama yi question we are no abranti na no busa say mama loans for UK schools ana. No busa say mama loans for UK
schools na ye ma. Pacha otemeka.
That's his question on the screen.
Okay. UK schools na ye ma loans no limited to business schools nkoa because ye marketplace na e wo UK no and also to say the US no baby a pese your partners na ye ne omo ye adwuma no omo na omo timi ma loans no to UK schools no and even Canada schools no because enye baby an ye wo license a pese ye betimi a operating ti ebi wo ho a ye ne your partners na ye ne omo ye adwuma no ene ye nti UK schools na omo timi emma loans no limited to businesses. Nti said they're not all can say utimi nya advantage na enya school UK then o probability a ubenya school US na very high.
Okay.
But esasi so say obia ewo ekura o pese onbo na disua ho bra in free nti no enye nhye say ye hye obi say on free ni UK admission no enko US admission name said there be ya ubenya wide range of opportunity for the financing or for the loan program nti no ana ye ka se unya utimi nya admission ni wo UK there then o chances of getting admission e wo US no very high nti you ubetimi a try and no so said there be ya say UK amfa US befa.
Okay. Okay. Lord Fred, I don't know. Yeah, answer our questions. I hope your question was adequately answered. But would you say or more year no and you get back to us now? Me money you question I know ebi. But Letitia Bio explain process. No, for instance, a loan no obi any admission that okuta admission letter from a school. Okay. How do they get you to give them a loan? Now to me they are trying to school. So what's the process?
So one thing about 8B is 8B is a fintech company. Okay. No paperwork. Everything is done via technology and it's done online. So on the same website na nipan signing up no. Or baby on the left.
On the same website, not just say who presume so nim that anti yembo a website and say Umbra website no, so non signing up. That is the beginning of the process.
Yes. So the beginning of the process, ni say nipa be signing up to the website. Then you bring any data your system. The other thing is say no person on your financing. Oju website ni so on the top left, whether or you see PC and I say or you see mobile phone. The top left side has some 3 bars over there. Okay. And see on that 3 bars, no. Obe or click so obe who find admission, find financing, internships and jobs, mentorship. So who find financing now then obe click find financing so a very simple process. The other thing is so oko find financing now you be an amount or share. And so on no say, oh, okay, I have, let's just say me 40% scholarship. Now I need, let's say, my parents can give me 20% of the money. Now I need the extra 40% through via 8B loans. So the amount of that 40% no, or the best then it will ask the person of the certificate, the transcript from school, and the admission letter no. Okay. From baby onyan way, you know. The next thing is everything will now be communicated via email. But then me what Ghana, you know, any student be or be apply to your loan system. No, I get the information of the student and then I connect with the person individually or personally in Ghana here.
Inti or TB ase ko betimi afre as a follow up, right?
Obetimi WhatsApp. The number is on WhatsApp. The number
Okay.
can make calls too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Inti pacho text number ne ma me na me fan to no mu number on betimi afre no at least omenya access because bebe so gusa o mo busa other questions. Alex or say Kwame. Ti pacho mo fa mo questions mbra say de mo pe when you admission dada busa questions. Say afa na wo be pay school busa question. Make sure say schools no are in Canada, US. Where the omo dealing with schools Canada, US. Or say doc so more 400 schools plus US universities colleges near there money omo ye adwuma when you admission order that omo when you funding and also omo bebo omo when you funding say Canada when you school dada omo bebo omo when you funding afa na wo pay admission wo Canada UK especially mo ya nursing no ne medical courses no mo ye nursing midwifery ni ade na bebre mo ho akere mo no because you say be the NCLEX ni ade minimum I'll do the simplest formula which is get a school nursing postgraduate nursing and bibisa unyana usika nso kra you can get the funding from doc no more get that one go to the school then we school now then take your NCLEX and then you are in the job market upese oba Ghana be boy and wa back boy so an e ukwa so this kind of boy uni bia ma no so nursing no look this is what Thailand for the Philippines for na doing uko UK ni Australia omunkrofo gu wachapo omoye nursing no mo this kind of pump into the omo economy Ghana and Kwana, when this issue comes up, how properly we can discuss it. Benefit for I don't even know where. Yeah, Inti bibi question bisa Fabra na cheche mumao. Usha HB company, ye feature more CNN crowd. Omako CNN anoman CNN who said the omo yes of services no more money services no money a good service. Inti CNN for ne omo kasa say before na mutumi yese de boa munuanom ne ade no these are the things that they were doing and no video ni so they have people who ma ye adwuma we achenti nye azanfo ni bia mo ba no ma bedada nkofo these people there even CNN for cry who say no mo ye serious here so on say lady no di anim no doc no doctor Lydia no aso ye student wako school wako ni PhD awie nto no e bia konani ama no bra obre na ma ode ate organization ode boni nuanom Africans into Kenya for Angola for Uganda for Ghana for Nigeria for as long as all qualification let's say when you admission dada and now admission say wasi na waya is recognized and I be watch SAT into mo amunya nye yi mo undergrad no ubetimi start adwen SAT no ho utwa wo SAT na ma pe school ama na che se wokọ na uni sika nso ano ma pelo ni binti uko school no uwie na wo start ye adwuma ansa no mbetete we no say meba na doc I explain what time omo de beje say sika loan because loan enya grant e de koche wo e na enya scholarship ntu betua na kakra how would they work on it said eba nso sika na omo de aboa wo no nso betimi enya bi na watua na omo so enya bi de aboa da kan wo hu Ghana Patrick wu anenam wo no nti enya ni paketo Ghana kra has been featured adwuma omo ye mu a yenya Ashasi University University modern omo bo nyina no omo ne omo e na ye collaboration nti wenya azanfo ni bi ukọ na obi koye wazan na oju sike didi a Kwame Jokoto ne kan na wala ne na ya ye bibia one okope asem na ode ama ho so doc let me come back to you again. I was trying to show the video to show that this is something you've done for years featured in CNN and other places. You even work with Patrick. We know Patrick. We are like he's a hero in Ghana, so we don't play with him like as we say in Ghana. So I just wanted to show the video. So Doc, anything you want to add before I take the questions that people are sending?
No, I think, what we were trying to show in that Ford Foundation video is that there are very many Africans that are celebrated globally. And, Patrick is celebrated. And I really respect the work that he does. And all the other, Ghanaians like the late Kofi Annan and, many others in the world. Sometimes it's hard to, it's easy to forget that some of the reason why they're so visible and global is because of the education that they received. And that for a lot of them, what enabled them to have that star power, the ability to mobilize resources, to solve big problems, is that they had that opportunity to study abroad.
Yeah.
We want to 10x, 10 times.
No, I wish you could say that in account for people to understand. That's very powerful. That the other patient say, "Bebre na ye show omo no." Say Patrick, we our baby a share university. The entire people like him, omunya opportunity na omunya no. Because of the quality of education omunya no. Nti usua de wo Ghana eboa, but oni mo saje fo sabe ye papa o saje fo nkromo o je Ghana si wo. Wo ye nyansafo. No onye obi a na dwen ye dolusa. Wonim de na achimota education value tie. To onya achimota education san call UK ko sua de to kwan America no de ni nyina blend there. That is what gave him the opportunity or they be fighting for independence. And now Dr. Lydia Ekan wants them say the quality of education na wanya no. O the exposure can say bia what to kwan mo akohu bibi so aka ho a eboa ma obi bia da so ko de Ashesi University boss ni school cry we bia cry different. Said your church school for na de cry different. Said your na de cry different. And no na do ko pese o sisu dua na say when your opportunity say obetu kwan ko travel and see ya unso travel and see memo obi an kan cho say we dufuru pe and now they come and sit in Ghana and let us suffer but suffering you obi an e bo no so me suffer when you can okra when your opportunity no ko Togo an ko besua bi o Togo aba travel and see is not wrong and na do ko kan no obi a when your exposure when your opportunity to get better education it influences and shapes the way our what there and its impact I will make it differently. And now I see university example now no dog.
Let me make one more point there. I think there is if my hearing of snippets of English from your Akan, there is a point there around being exposed, but I fear a very big part of it is creating global networks. To build big, substantive, world-changing organizations, you need access to people who have capital, and you need access to those people through networks of trust. It doesn't matter if you had the best education in Kenya or Ghana and you really are the best in the world in the subject that you have studied, but you're sitting in Kenya or Ghana, the people that have the money and the resources and the ability to help you build something big and life-changing don't know who you are, or you are not connected to them. Some of the value in having a global education is in the connections that you will make that will be valuable in ways that you cannot even start to calculate on the outset. The places where I have found most value, the people that have enabled me both professionally when I was at the UN and the World Bank, and when I left to start 8B, all of that was always through mentors and through networks and through people who knew me. So it's always about how connected you are. And global universities are so good at creating those connections. So there is quality, yes, but there is just simply, even if you were getting a better education in Ghana, you will get better connections in New York. And so you want to do both. You want to make sure that you know your country and your issues very well, but that you also, if you can, giving young people, our children, opportunities to be in the places where the future is being built, to be with the people who have the money to help us build those futures, because, let's be honest, that money is in other places, not in Accra and Nairobi. To do that, we need to be in these places.
Okay. Letitia, we better okay, no. I think the emphasis is on in network.
Yeah. And then it was one of her motivation to, Doc, you should say that was one of your motivation to bring in 8B on board, because she found herself working in very high class jobs. She's worked in the UN before. So she found that African people, or Africans that are working in such high class places were very few, due to lack of the education they needed to have. So it was one of her motivations in creating this 8B's financing to help them get to that level where they can also bring people on board when it comes to the high class workplaces we have globally. So I
na me pesa o mo chi ase about you na o kind of rough no.
Okay.
Maybe I'm a man conform some questions maybe because baby so more school, but them said their dog first to the say.
So
That's in
kakra
crying,
meka
also your champion. Tete no ne na no baby no mubu.
yeah.
So unko be a foam. Why didn't you say unko no ye kuani? If you haven't been to anybody's farm, your assumption is that you are the only chief farmer in your local town. You know, so you become a local champion. But what Doug was saying is that networking is the number one thing in the world. You can be the best person in the world, but if you are not connected, network to another person with the resources, with the money, with the opportunity, with the privileges to connect you, unyobia, it is electricity. Se unkwa ya kosomoa, si enkwana tu bako, you are nothing. Ye hiya kania no bako, ti bede na kosomoa bako. E was here the cables, and huma so neba bako. What I say? Inti that's what she's saying. It's a global education. Addition yen no faako. Me say one will say sika fonde bi omuko jaye. Doctor say kwame that's why ne backen. Or the no cotton UK no co school. Oh, yeah, no, then a bag and no bar school. When the wire branch and was setting it up for life. We're connecting it globally. Our classmates for UK or classmates or Ghana. That you here be and once offer for no friend and for send the email global. But once a here for needs opportunity. And none a dog can say, of course, on also Africa ni bibinia. O nimse opportunity and also amana kwa more United Nations. Opportunity na mo no to do baby no so no so fam one money in Ghana for Africa for. Uko school baby resources niti abrofu your my World Bank the committee this in New York o omonti nkran yo once Ghana sign IMF no cry call DC ko sign a contract no nti doc assembly say you cannot sit in your cubicle in your corner and think we are champion water. You can't. And was so connected plug into the network resources nti wako school we baby globally Canada opportunity ba udim US opportunity ba udim UK opportunity ba udim Australia opportunity ba udim network na ebe ma wakwa kodru so ese na madua so na homa hunu so na se ma wokan no nti unya opportunity say ukosua de obabi akobi na sikafo no mo mantena Ghana memma obi a mebo ohia ekehire bi a mebo na ade na wokọ na ade na Ghana for the you are all going ko osaje fo kra ko na abetena eyi okoye no baba wa Ghana wo de mo bi na down na ti bongo no say please help us more handiwork no they want to find out if those who are skilled who have education in skilled areas. I don't know, Doc, do you work with any of the universities that like community colleges or any of those colleges that offer like skilled technical subjects?
So our lead product affair is in the knowledge economy. So it is work, it's people who are in engineering, it's people who are in sciences, it's people who are, if they're building things, they're building robots. But what we hope we can do when we do a bigger expansion in Canada, because Canada has more generosity affair with their visa process. In the US, even if you got an offer from a community college, the embassy is not going to give you a visa in Accra or Nairobi to go to a community college. Not if you are qualified to go to a university in Ghana, or if you're coming from a university in Ghana and want to have a second degree. They won't give you that visa. They don't. The US doesn't give visa for community colleges. Let's put it
Why?
That way. Because a community college is going to be a step below a degree. And if you are qualified enough to go for a degree, why would you be going to a community college? So it almost seems like you're getting that education in order to get to the US, as opposed to because it actually adds onto your stack of qualifications. Okay. Sometimes what we see is students who already have a degree from a university in Ghana or Kenya applying to a community college. You can't do that. That means you're moving a step down. And that's just, it gives a red flag to visa officers that are already suspicious of African student applying to the US anyway. So I think that's some of the challenges that we see. Canada has a very different orientation, and Canada is also, has something called a point system, where they actually actively look for English or French speaking people who are craftsmen in particular areas. Like if you're a welder and you have a welding certificate from a TVET technical school in Kenya or Ghana, you can actually go through the Canadian website and you can figure out how to demonstrate your point system. And that is just strictly for immigration. And I think for colleges, technical colleges, they have a bit more generosity, but that's not an area of my expertise. The area where we have a lot of expertise is in university degrees, for which there is a lot of students who are both qualified and graduating out of in our countries and not enough jobs. And so the way we think of ourselves is really complementing your career officer in the Career Services Center at your university by telling you, here are the things you can do after you graduate. You may be able to get a job if you're really lucky. You may be able to start an entrepreneurship venture if you have some money, or you can go to school for another degree. And we are in this third category. And you can go to school for another degree abroad, which then opens up the world for you.
But Doc, just before I ask you this next question, which is if you can use the proof of funds for a US visa interview, but you were mentioning the issue about community colleges and how difficult is it for the visa officers in Accra or Kenya or most of the African countries to give them the visa. How about those who are writing the SAT? Because if it's difficult for the community colleges, then how about SHS, like high school students who write SAT, they pass the SAT? How easy is it for them to get the US visas for school?
So I don't want to speak as though I'm a visa expert. I'm not. My expertise is in thinking about how do we unlock financing to help more African students to get into the best universities in the world.
But they would need the visa to get to the schools, though.
They do. So for undergraduate, the schools that we lend to are still the best schools. So if you're going into a good undergraduate school, meaning a 4-year degree, the thing is a community college is 2 years. It is not 4 years. And most people who are good enough to get into a community college are actually good enough to get a degree. So why would you go to a 2-year college when you can go into a 4-year college? So that is the question that a visa officer would probably be asking you. You probably could qualify for a rigorous program. Why would you go into a program that is typically for people who are not good enough to get into a 4-year program?
Okay.
So I think it's really that, many people will be applying for a 2-year degree as an easier way of getting into perhaps a more affordable education.
Okay.
But I haven't seen a track record of success on the visa side.
But do you have any track record of SAT students who have managed to at least get into the schools?
When you say SAT students, what you mean is undergraduate students?
Undergraduate, yeah. Undergraduate.
The ones who are coming fresh. Yeah. So when I came to the US, I first came as an undergrad student, like fresh out of high school, right? Fresh out of high school. The big difference is that I was fully funded. I had a full scholarship. I do see the next question, which is about using loan financing as an evidence of proof of financing. And the answer is yes. So what happens is when you get the I-20, when you get an offer, they tell you, show us that you have money if they are not fully funding you. Then you will write back and say, my mother can give this much, I have a scholarship for this much, and I have a loan for this much. And for each of those things, you need to give them evidence. For the H-B loan, you will have something called a conditional approval letter, which is a document that we give to everybody who we have pre-approved for a loan.
So you will give the letter to the student?
We give the letter to the student, who then give it to the school.
Okay.
So the school can verify that HB actually exists and can lend it before they can put it on the I-20 as one of the sources of funding. And when the student goes for a visa, they go with their I-20. And for each of the things that they said are sources of funding, they go with the evidence of each. So they will carry that letter from us, and they will carry their cousins who's going to be funding them, and they will carry the partial scholarship letter. Just like, just showing, I told you this is where my money comes from. Here are the letters that show it. And for ours, it is an approval letter. And that doesn't work any differently from elsewhere. Does it make visa officers more or less likely to say yes or no? It's really hard to tell, Afia, because we have such poor visa approval rates across the African continent for students. But that is just a generalizable phenomenon. We are seeing.
But I think that one of these is your organization should have a conversation with maybe the US State Department, the Canada immigration people, that this poor accessibility of African students to the visa system is a problem. It can even be construed as discrimination, because it's not fair. You check all the boxes. Like you're saying, you will give them a letter that shows that we are funding you. They have another letter from their parents that we're paying for part of your tuition. Why should visa be an issue?
So
because it's a big issue across Africa, like you say. Don't you think the organization can intervene?
So we are currently part of an advocacy platform with something called NAFSA. This is the Organization of International Student Officers across American universities. And we actually just held a breakfast on the 30th of May in Washington, D.C., with university presidents and university international officers, talking precisely about that issue of visa denials and how we need to see a different approach to that, because it is also contrary to the US foreign policy interest of getting more influence in Africa when you're denying Africa's future leaders the ability to go to your schools, when that's how they will be positively disposed to America in the future. So those are issues that we're absolutely already working on. And we, in Kenya, for example, I have met with officers both from the US and the Canadian missions or embassies who are in position to hear us out, basically saying, hey, we're a lender, this is what we do. If a student ever presents credentials from us and you have any questions, before you say no, please call us, because once you say no, it becomes really hard for them to.
Why don't you have that in Ghana? We need somebody to help Ghanaian students in Ghana. Because right now I know that there's a backlog at the US Embassy where a lot of Ghanaian students are just awaiting. Some of them don't even have interview dates. And yet they have admission. I know one young man who had admission at Princeton, and he lost his admission. He got scholarship, but he couldn't get his visa.
Yeah. So Afia, you're right, but we're talking about several different questions together. There is one question of, even if you get an appointment and you show up, they might say no because of the way Africa exists in the imagination of visa officers compared to students from other regions of the world. That problem is separate from and needs to be tackled, but it's separate from the backlog problem, which is you are supposed to be in school in August and you're getting an appointment date of February. For that one, we advise students very strongly to use the emergency request process that the US Embassy has that allows students who have been given a date that is later, you take the date they gave you and you write to them and say, would be most grateful if you could consider an earlier date because I'm supposed to be in school in July, right? And in many cases, the embassies can allow for an earlier date, and in some cases they won't, because it does seem like there is a lot more backlogs in Ghana and Kenya than, for example, Brazil. And that is also part of this bigger advocacy, which is let's do better. Let's get more people in these places who can help process these visas swiftly. But I think that's
people don't even know that there's this emergency visa application you're talking about.
So then, Afia, that's you're the media person who has a very, very many ears listening to you. That's your job to let them know that there is on that embassy, on the consular page, they will tell you if you have a medical emergency broadly defined. And students have to have the courage to know that emergency includes school begins in July. You're telling me I can't show up for a visa appointment until November. That doesn't work for me. I would like for you to try and do this earlier. We actually on our website offer suggestions on how to do that. We have advice that is specifically on how to use that emergency procedure that very many consulates have, but many students don't avail themselves of because they don't have the courage to say, oh, wait a second, what you gave me doesn't work for me. Would you consider this, right? So we have a sample on how a student can do that.
Doc, hold on. Let me translate that. It's very important because a lot of people, I'm telling you, they don't know this. AJ, I'll come to your question, but Doc, our question or answer part of it or say, Ghana for students say, so admission will US, now when you're financial aid and now when you're scholarship, now when you're visa data or say, embassies in our emergency visa services or uniman patoti and wasum. Or say more emergency visa services or into consular section the page internet no so say bia US Embassy in Ghana or come website there's a part we want a consular section oko honoma no attra come say bia when you winter admission will be bia ready as a say winter meanwhile visa interview now when you know next year na just say on better school no throw letter come embassy they say when your admission was will show up or school honum winter be a January and I say be a December and maybe a November be a fall admission or so we do or maybe or interview date but be nim into no Afghanistan no lose to say branch here make us on your admission or Princeton no Ivy League school only munti yeah, I'll see me interview date until not today and I didn't born. Be also be an hour breakthrough and Yankopon the amount no I'm not sleepy. Inti say oh admission we a student ma me phone so yesre ma muntie ma moma no wo fa ase bi anya admission wo US and Canada ne ade na date no wa akire a o so twiro koma embassy ne say ne admission no wa anim omo wo arrangement for emergency services ombema nipa kro no data e wa anim a obeba unima na watie na wahye ne so pacho party eje ben once no or the amount or say proof omo loan no omo de ma wa ubetimi de akọ embassy bi akọ proof of funds ubetimi de akọ embassy bi an embassy bi especially Canada and US omo ni momo dada HB for no omo ni momo hbafrica.com mebo hbafrica.com omo ho America for ni momo Canada for ni momo ana menya di no wrong ho HB Africa na Letitia now can be o no Letitia Doc, did I get the website wrong?
HB Africa.
It's just hb.africa.
HB Africa.
HB Africa. Until do you know 8B Africa.
Yeah.
8 figure 8. B as in boy. Africa. Omo website no. Omo ne America for ni momo obi ani momo nti ukọ wono ma ombehwe said the ba wonso betimi nya support na ode beye adwuma no nti omo letter no de coin embassy a embassy for ni nim say a bona fide organization kire o proof of funds na wenya o school na okọ ye ba be pon ano ye time no so nti kwasi ata say if I have my 120 already by using my uncle's bank statement covering my deficit. Can I still apply for the loan to get an unconditional approval? Doc, this is somebody's question.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. If you already have your uncle's statement and that is what is in your I-20, it's important that you use that when you go for your visa, because you will need to show that what is in your I-20 and what you're showing up with is consistent. If you then have need for additional financing at any stage, including you think your uncle will not be able to give you as much as you need, or they will not have any money at all, even if, whatever the reason is where you end up with a deficit, we are always open to have students apply to us. We, in fact, find it a lot quicker when the student is already in the US. So if you, using your uncle's information, paid for your first term, and then you came to the US and found that you needed a second term and needed money to cover that from us, you can always apply. So basically, I'm really saying at any stage, from the moment you get the I-20 or even before the I-20 and after, you can definitely.
Well, what is the I-20? The student, the letter to apply for the student visa, right?
Correct. It's a letter from the university that is the legal document that allows you to apply for a visa from the US. If you're coming as a student in America, you need an I-20, and that is issued by the school, and it lists how you're going to pay for your education.
Okay.
And so you need some consistency there, Arthur.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Edu Converse says, if someone has an undergraduate admission to a US university, can you help with the funding, undergrad admissions?
Yeah, so we do both undergrad and grad. Our best funding, because it's lower risk, and I will tell you how, is actually for graduate funding and for upperclassmen, meaning people who are juniors and seniors, meaning their last 2 years of university and when they're in graduate school. And we have limited funding for freshmen and sophomores because they're higher risk. What I mean by that is that when we're underwriting, when we're deciding the risk of lending. So the way banks work is that they lend to you depending on the risk, and the cost to the bank depends on the risk of you defaulting. If you are going into a robotics program or into, game design or into engineering, we know what those jobs earn when you graduate. And so when we're thinking about a loan, we know how to think about the risk. If you're going to major in English, those are jobs that are very few and far between, and the income is lower. So that's a higher risk program. We're not going to lend to you if you're going to study English for your bachelor's. We're likely to lend to you if you're going to study for mathematics or engineering.
Okay.
But remember, if you're a freshman, you can start studying mathematics and then find it too hard. And then the next year you change to English. So here we are. We've given you a loan, assuming you're going to be studying mathematics and getting a good job immediately. And suddenly you're going to study English literature and we're not going to get a job. So then we are left with a higher risk. That's the reason why we have a much lower lending threshold, a lower amount when you're a freshman, because we want to take less risk. By the time you're a third year, you have declared what your major is going to be. So you no longer have the option of changing from math to writing. And therefore, we are much surer about how much money we can lend you and the likelihood of getting it back. I hope that helps explain.
It does help.
Yeah,
it does help. It does. I would rather let you come back later and talk about like which courses you can do that, you know, attracts more funding, because the point you made about if you do mathematics, and I wanted to translate that into account so that people understand. Doc say, so we subject bit is a course bit is English, and yet easy, and one hand away funding, but we bit is mathematics, ubenya funding simple, robotics, ubenya funding simple, but you men ko kanche embassy for say Ghana also kwa English or America na Canada obi emu one baby say University of Ghana Guana, because University of Ghana English papa no University of Ghana, Cape Coast University, Tech or Honum, Omumau. But ebia wo kwa mathematics, robotics. Now they are babe boy Ghana. So the internet here and shada stably. Usi me kwa telecommunication, robotics BB, and the obenya funding no simple. Inti shano so. Men kwa a course to be a back until who go school and tina who go school. I was so biansano. Sa services to doc so more offer. We are undergrad be our SHS afina obekwa. Now what plan said that be open so go school abroach that start to come on now boot camp no koye bi nebu so mo courses I would see when is say we are obetimi nya funding. I know they want here crab nya full scholarship said the doc nya bi or the call school or the best in koye adwuma o UN no. What I say? Unko ye English ni ade dia unya funding. And the Ghana no ye English papa ho nti obi ama funding say koye English e wo baby a. Amante was say doc please the 8B website request for only US states. Kindly confirm whether you fund Canadian students too. This Canadian guy said he went to your website and they are only showing US schools. So confirm that you offer services to Canadians with Canadian schools as well.
Yeah, so if he goes to our marketplace, so there is the 8B lending product, and then there is our marketplace where we have all the partners that lend to schools and countries to which we don't lend. So if you go to the compare loans, that's the place where you will get information on the other countries, including European countries like the UK, although the UK is not in Europe anymore, but you know what I mean. The UK, the other countries, as well as Canada. So you can find that on our compare loans section.
And I send you my number so amount so that you can also ask Letitia about further questions for explanation. Jan Abraham, or say, lady, please.
Hello, Afia, I think we lost you.
Yeah.
Also message I was sending Lee like you or say I salute you or like you that say Yakwande ebusa about your friend saying MA or say or is MBA part of the programs are more offer funding, and he wants to know if you offer services for MBA students.
Yeah, absolutely. When there are MBAs who are going into the universities that we support. So here's the thing, Afia, that I don't know how you're going to translate this into Akan. The programs that we fund in the US are programs that are designated as STEM. They don't have to be science and technology programs. They can be accounting or finance or MBA or policy. But the university will need to have taken an effort in registering them with the Department of Homeland Security as qualifying for the designation of science and technology, meaning there is something in there that has to do with data, that has to do with quantitative, that enables them to get, this is the critical piece, to get 3 years after graduation in the US, because otherwise you get 1 year of graduation after graduation in the US, where you can work without needing sponsorship. If you come from a STEM designated program, and most good MBA programs, accounting programs, finance programs are STEM designated, you will have 3 years of working in the US before you need sponsorship. And that's very important for us, because we need students who will be able to take advantage of that opportunity as a way of sharpening their skills to go out into the world and succeed.
So once you get the funding and you start schooling and you finish, are you required to repay the loans immediately, or you will get a work permit to work so that you can repay the loans?
So in the US, the way it works is that, so there are two separate things. There is the loan and there is the immigration system of America. Let's start with the immigration system of America. The immigration system of the US requires that if you are in any degree that is not designated as science and technology, after you graduate, you get 12 months of working permit. It's called optional practical training, for which you don't need additional sponsorship. So you can get any job, work for any company you want. And then after those 12 months, your status expires unless you get an employer who is going to sponsor you for a different work visa. If your program is designated as science and technology, then you have 3 years in which you can work before you need someone who can sponsor you, the company to sponsor you. So
wow,
you should not be applying to any course in America that is not STEM designated, really is what I'm saying. Because otherwise your chances of optimizing and maximizing what America offers is very low. After those 3 years, you've already built relationships. An employer can in fact start sponsoring you from day one, even if you have another 3 years to go. The sponsorship process in the US is what it is. The reality, Afia, that we're really wanting to tailor our support for is Africans who are going into the global labor market. It means that you can get your degree in Cornell and take a job in Toronto. You can get your degree in NYU and take a job in Tokyo. The kinds of universities that we are supporting students to go to are the universities where you should be able to be in the global labor market. Just because you don't get a US sponsorship doesn't mean you go back to my town of Kisii, Kenya. No, it just means you go to another global city to do the thing that you've just been trained in one of the world's best universities to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it does.
How we're thinking about
I want to explain that to people. Letitia, meaning so we're ready, so I know answer Prince Kwanzaa question no Eddie Amai. Doc Okase, o person who go school US and UK Canada, but you're careful. Men choose course be a keke say. Who choose STEM? Science, name mathematics, STEM based courses no. Technology near the woman no. Advantage the war no money say. So okay, any other course who we school now. America immigration system no mama 1 year. I'll bet me there year juma. Who you pe and you on your own. One call crew ma your crumb bepa mama crew. But so STEM courses ne there. And no what 3 years. Who mobia me or omumpamo omunya 3 years no bet me there be bia esese wo ye. So what I say, ubetimi dey year adwuma bi kra wo te America, betimi dey adwuma Canada. Oh Canada, betimi dey akoye adwuma another place. Osi schools no mo ne omo ye adwuma over 400 schools na US. Any over 30 schools na Canada ni nyina. Omo nyina ye schools a omo tetew, omo ma education, mama ye global worker. Into betimi adwuma baby anti o no se ne ono fi Kenya otimi akoye adwuma wo UN no. Ubehwe na wo ye Ghana ni kontomero abati se me so ochana na wo ye UN worker. So now I call any UN now. Those are the schools so many omu ye adwuma. Nti wo mpese obey ready why you say wo pe baby adwane akwa ye cleaning wa broche say the Ghana for be cleaning now sisi achia cleaning now sisi any member ote member omo eno nya omo level omo de ne so mbeboa Africa for nkola no say the bo bi owo nimde nyansa opese oboa ne mind obetimi akonya sa STEM education bi nti no ma code no we o kan brofo ni se nko kan brofo kra. Because America for better or say STEM courses no ya wo 3 years of immigration system nim ubetimi aye adwuma obi ameye ohwe nti menemo a me focus on Ghana for yendi obi atemo ha nti muntie o mo dem mo muntie ara me the number na to so ubetimi focus on the numbers na wagi number na frɛ na wa kire ayi e wo honom omo number na me pin number no so ubetimi 0599 854939 8B Africa Ghana office number no 0599854939. Office number offer STEM courses and it's a offer. I will be 3 years immigration. I no do omo letter no call or say udi do embassy omo be ma na call say embassy ko US embassy ko catch so ko English ya omo mfi omo penkofa bounce omo dada ntu duru ani apamo ubeka say ya ma officer but course na wan choose course papa what you say ha Benjamin H you see please I just joined the program late what are the possible ways to access the loan if you don't have a sponsor for your study you have to go through the process also call my website so go and register or register then they will take you through the process from there what I say Benjamin go to the website 8bafrica.com 8bafrica.com if you and .com there's no .com I keep messing up the website is it 8B Africa is that not what you said I should say yeah 8B Africa huh what's the website no 8B Africa if you go there and you register then you can go through the process from there. Edu Enyan Converse. There's another question for you, Doc. See, she holds an MSc in nursing without research. Can 8B Africa help her with a PhD application? I think she didn't do any research.
So any program, what we do when we do, for example, a boot camp is a process we put in place to help students know how to apply and where to apply. And so for that, we would encourage you. Nobody does the, hand holding. We help you figure out how to do it, but we give you the list of universities to begin with. And then it's on you to figure out which of them have a doctoral program in nursing. And then you come to us and say, here are my universities. And hopefully you started with our list. So the universities you have are on our list. And then, like any program, whether it's a doctoral program in any area, they will have a set of questions for you that help them know your academic competence. So even if you have not had research, it's important that you already have an MSc. And what are the things that you will be able to show them that help them know that you are academically competent to carry out a PhD? I have not studied nursing, so I am not in a position to comment on what the specifics are, but I can tell you they will want to know what experiences you have had, what equates, because sometimes when you come from the environments from like we come from on the African continent, a lot of your day-to-day work may well be giving you such detailed understanding of things that you have to be able to remember to use those experiences when you're talking about who you are and why you're qualified. So you don't need to have carried out a research experiment, but you are in a setting where on a day-to-day basis, you're engaging in the kinds of problem solving that show that academically you're able to do this work. So I think part of what we help with students when, we have a team member who does a lot of the helping on the essay side is really helping you articulate what are the things that you have done that you think would be interesting to an application person. How do we turn each of them into an interesting paragraph, if you will, that helps you explain your academic competence. And then, of course, many schools, particularly for a doctoral program, might want you to be interviewed because there are very few doctoral students in general. And then they need you to have a supervisor. So you should have spoken to such a person. And by the way, even before applying at all, if you're doing a doctoral program, you want to identify what do you want to research and who do you want to do it with, and if possible, get in touch with that person in advance and strike up a relationship before you even start the application process, and even find out whether they have space for someone like you, right? The more you personalize this, especially at a doctoral level, the better. At a master's level and an undergrad level, none of that is required. You simply apply and you're one of many students. When it comes to the kinds of relationships that doctorates have, you might need to do a bit more homework.
Okay.
So, you would have to be thinking about this for 2024 or beyond, and we would be happy to help you.
Doc, summarize your answers so that you can at least address the others for me. Kenny Champon has a question. I hold a BSc in business administration and MSc international businesses, all with research backgrounds. Can you help with PhD application and funding? That's what he wants to know. I don't know.
So I've just given some answers on PhDs. Go to the bootcamp, ask your questions there. We will be able to help you as much as possible. Do a lot of your homework, identify the people that you want to work with, because at a doctoral level, that is usually very important. And to the previous question on living costs, yes, if they are designated as costs by the school, meaning the school says this is how much it costs to live, how much to eat, how much for food and fees. All of those costs qualify for HB funding.
Okay. Kofi Champon Pacho, Kosha, my video now, my previously from Sweden. Sweden, my PhD scholarships are fully funded. Until OPE funding there, Sweden is one of the places that you want to look at. They even pay people. They pay you. All you do is teach as a teaching assistant on the side, in addition to your PhD. So you can look at Sweden too. I think Australia. I've done a video with some lecturers from Australia. There's also funding there in Australia. Richard Owusu has a question, but let me ask this question. Kayak sent a question. Doc, please, do you provide loans that cover full tuition, fee, and living expenses?
Yeah, I just said as long as any cost that the school designates as qualified, we can't give you. Okay, so let me allow me to spend a minute on this one. The school says it costs this much in tuition, this much in living costs, and this much in room and board. That is qualified costs. So if the school then gives you only partial, or you can only afford partial, you can apply to us for the gap. The reason why that matters is that when we lend to a student, we don't give money to a student. We send money to a school. So the school has to certify that the money that you're asking for is money that they're asking you for. So we can't give you more money than the school is asking you for, which is why things like flights and visas, the school doesn't get into that. And therefore, we cannot be giving you money for that. We only start giving you money for the things that become relevant once you show up in school. And we give the money to the school writes you a check for your living costs if that's what you had asked for, and check for your insurance if that's what you had asked for, and the rest stays in tuition with the school.
Okay. So the other ones are school no can or see another account. No will be probably your cost. But say school need the back the school need better trauma or say your cost, living expenses, accommodation, when the send first can go. See any before. Yeah, but this can crack with the the Bema school no. The Bema school no. Into the account there and no be an hour someone. What I say, Abrante when Mammy Busa question question no answer. Question number one. I think that a success Enusa, you sent a question. Does accounting finance attract funding? I don't know. Accounting, because you mentioned STEM courses. I don't know. Accounting. This is not a STEM course, right? Or
well, except it is in many universities. That STEM designation is basically saying, does this degree have some quantitative, some math in it? But the university, not all universities designate their quantitative courses as STEM. So we encourage students when they're making applications to verify that the application they're making is to a degree that has been STEM certified, so that they can get the benefit of the 3 years after graduation. But yes, an accounting, a finance, and it doesn't even have to be financial economics. I know in Cornell, just straight up economics classes have a STEM designation. So it's on the student to do the homework and figure out which are the universities that are STEM designated, and then that's where they apply. And do they attract higher funding? Do you mean if it's from us? The funding is quite uniform, meaning if you're in your 3rd year, 4th year, or master's, we have a limit that is the same. If you're a 2nd year and a 1st year, we have a different limit. But it's a higher limit when you are in the years in the program, rather than in the program, rather than finance, for example, where finance and accounting have something higher is in what you're going to be paid after you graduate. If you have a degree in finance and you get a good job in finance, hopefully you can take advantage of the 3 years. You'll be extremely well paid, because that's just how that field goes. But it's eligible for financing from us when it's STEM designated.
And the success Enusa, but when you answer, you say no accounting course be a baby as math kakra woman no. So mathematics kakra woman. Omo classify as STEM. Nti we di lotto, nti friend number no. Number na me de ma no 059 059 9854 939 059 9854 939 8B for no omo Ghana office number ni ofra obi befa likely say Letitia ne befa no akasa no achechu mu So what opportunity na me for me who Belinda Belinda opportunity na frɛ mo na take advantage. Kosua de beboa Ghana de it cannot be bad anywhere. Nti me mo bia me dada because bukata fo bebre so work town. Nti wo ye ho se me de me ready de ma wo ye wo mfa na be kwa kodi bukata bi echi na obu wa men se de message na ve mo bi ebu me ma wo na me ma so ya ye sekra no mini adaje amema wo what I say nti ye kire wo kwan no follow kwan no Yewandi also does this loan offer support a student who is a mother with kids? I don't know. A student who is a mother with kids. I don't know, Letitia, if you want to take that.
I'm happy to take that one.
Yeah, you can talk.
Okay,
when you're
go
done,
ahead. I'll come with you to you, Letitia, with another question.
Yes,
Doc,
so
go ahead.
We don't discriminate on the basis of, are you a mother or do you have kids? What tends to happen is that the university will tell you that you need more money if you have dependents, because then you need to feed more than just yourself and you need to have a house that has a bit more space. So what it means is that you're more likely to need to borrow more. But on our own, we're like, whoever you are, if you want to study and you have an offer, come and apply. If you qualify, we can provide the loan.
Okay. Letitia, then take this question. And I say, can I apply for a loan if I want to study undergrad nursing in Canada? If
okay,
maybe they get a school there.
Or a bejina or koye undergrad or Canada. Into a bejina the course I was seeing any requirement obey here or Canada honum. Obey media yes and undergraduates no. And nini na ye try or boot camp honum. So oba boot camp no na say a train say that we here for Canada and of it in later. Yes. Obetimi apply.
Into boot camp no more this year my area and I say more another one for this year betimi
I think the ebeshe boot camp na say the other thing na me pese me nka me network na ma me HS kakra no yeah regarding visa appointments na ye ka ho asem ye running online classes Emma omo di kan call ye questions I visa omo any omo ayenim omo se omo kwa yeah omo call with students omo call for student visa questions I visa omo and how they should approach those questions.
Okay.
And we have webinars for them. We teach them so that when they go, they don't get to fumble. Like omo got to papa so I be kwa to say it's been poma omo approval letter no cry no mo call still omo visa because Oju visa Oju meeting Nasia, we won't be there to see them, but then we need to coach them and then teach them what to say and how to go about with their questions. Yes, and your money to help them to.
It is the next webinar on no be there na bia offer wa obetimi a share no webinars ni bia obetimi akohwe no wenya sa because I know it's very important but obi wono ma ya bibia ama no obedu embassy visa interview no a mess up na no ho popo and asem ani so okoka no wenya asem. It's very important.
Yeah, and no so mom boot camp no date no it's yet to be finalized, but mostly we do it in July. We do the boot camp in July, but we are yet to finalize the exact date to start. Most times we make a lot of noise. We 8B eco campuses. So far, we've gone to a lot of campuses. Yako Legon campus, Yako Kane University, Gempa, most of the schools, UPSA. We've been to a lot of campuses since. So be a student, Wahaseya, on stay tuned to. We come into their campus. Anytime I about more campus, we make announcements so that like when we get to their campus, they can be there for some of our webinars, physical ones, no, but most of the online ones, no. So we have recorded videos for them to go through that.
Okay. So that's Go ahead, Doc.
Add one more thing. We're most likely, we haven't yet finalized the date, but there is a very strong likelihood that it's going to start on the 15th of July, and it's going to be all Saturdays going forward after that. So if every month, every 4 weeks, if you will, there will be a new one. So a student can start on the 15th. If they miss it, they can watch the video of the previous week and then join. If they miss it, they can, join in as needed or watch the videos as needed, really just trying to help students. And those who have questions, want to be live, they can show up. If they are comfortable just watching what others have heard, they can do that too.
Okay. So Doug, I think we'll just about end.
But there is a disclaimer.
Yeah. Okay.
There is a disclaimer. Students will need to know.
Okay. Pato, go ahead.
Yen process not to set the agency. Ebe admission process ama students. Enti say students bia enye alert say obi chat say wana obi send a message so free 8B. But obetimi aboa ma when your admission betwea say ana say enye no correct. We don't take any money for our charges. Our charges are based on the interest rates we charge on the loan. And see, when Obi and Dada will be say, oh, yeah, process now. The work is mostly done by the students in terms of applying for the school. Like, we say agencies need the process need BBM or no when your admission letter, no. But it's not like that with 8B. What 8B does is to guide you in your step-by-step process. But to do it for you, we don't do it. For you, okay. We don't do everything for you. We guide you in order to get the admission.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's Letitia. Okay. Letitia, just I think that's very important. Because Ghana for baby school for no be a person spoon feed. I don't know why maybe I Ghana for issue as I didn't know. Personal statement with the Dr. Santiago Bamuabeche, how to write personal statement. But be fair, if I want somebody to write, me German, you want got your personal statement, ma. You must, because you question there, so you must put in the work. Put in the work. And that shows the level of seriousness you are attaching to application. Because they are there to help you. No be a giant baby, well, no doc, or my UNO. No way, giant self, so born in Africa for. You don't expect somebody should just do it for you. Show the commitment that you want to put in the work and do your part. Into Obi Boa, it's so easy. And by watch out, even do's and don'ts, so called visa interviews near there. I mean, them be na person be amount. Christian say he's very interested. This year, a video, no. A lot of the questions you are asking, we have doc a year no that. Pan Africa DOC, you say things that will make just a bimupa the program here education program this person will be my problem. Ama and also we are organizing free cybersecurity internship. Well, and also be a man could do a BHO and Letitia can no I know be a kobu. Or see me yes, no akobu. Me very far will be a mefano Emma Ahasito. Doc, just briefly summarize, just like a potential student, what you are supposed to know. Then let's take it from let's wrap up. We'll do the other breakdowns next time when we meet.
Excellent. So we exist to simplify the journey of an ambitious African student who wants to study in a global university but does not have wealthy parents or is not lucky enough to get a full scholarship. That is the vast majority of students on the African continent in general and in Ghana in particular. The way we do that is we help the students and guide them in where to apply and how to apply. That process can be very complicated. We simplify it, and we have webinars, both synchronous and asynchronous, to help students do that. Critically, when a student has received an offer to a global university, with or without our help, if the university is on our list of universities we work with, and the program that they are applying to is on our list of programs that we support, meaning it is STEM designated, we provide financing, loan financing for those students. That's after they have received every scholarship there is to receive. All the cousins and uncles have been hit up for money. There's no more money left to receive for free. And you still want to take that education, we provide the loan financing for that. And then we help students with additional support, like how do you interview for a job? How do you succeed in a global university? That is more downstream for the students that are already enrolled. For students that already have an offer and they already have money, they can still find help from us in terms of how to think about the visa process. And I think that is really some guidance that is, most of it is common sense, and it might be very obvious, but some of it might be very new for students. So they can find that information at our website, which is 8B, the number 8, the letter B. It stands for 8 billion. 8b.africa. That's where we are, and we would love to be as helpful to the next generation of African problem solvers and ecosystem builders and leaders who are globally ambitious as possible.
Okay. So, Doc, let me thank you. I think the next time we'll take the specific issues or maybe the immigration aspect. We'll go into particular list of schools. Like, these are the schools you're working with. So we'll let you highlight the schools, mention the name of the schools, and then we'll go through the processes for identifying the STEM courses. I'll let you do a list of the STEM courses, which schools are offering those STEM courses, so that we can offer those solutions to people. But let me thank you this evening for joining us. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I am so grateful for your time and for your audience's time. I look forward to the next time, Afia. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Dr. Lydia, and I think next time you better ask me to answer a question. Just send me the question, inbox me the question. I'll get doctor to explain the question, but take the number and call Letitia. Letitia will cry and she can attend to you, answer your question. If you have any issue, send you a website link and anything, like give you the link so that you can register for the boot camp and anything. Just call Letitia 0599 854939 0599 854939. Good night.